Not all silver is designed to be equal, but which one is going to give you the most bang for your buck in 2025, 2026, and into the future? But let's break down the top 3 types of silver you should be stacking and why they're important in today's video. So let's go. Want to win 100 ounces of American Silver Eagles completely free? Well, in case you missed out on the first opportunity, JM Bullion is now giving you a second chance to win 5 full tubes of 100 coins packed in a custom waterproof Pelican case. There's no purchase necessary, and the newest and latest giveaway is going to end on December 11th of this year. And if you want to get in on this last opportunity, click the link in the description below for a chance to win. And again, just to be clear, JM Bullion is not sponsoring this channel in any sort of way. This is just me wanting to pass this opportunity along to help you guys out. So don't miss out on this. Click on the link in the description to enter for your chance to win 100 ounces of free silver. Hi everybody, and welcome back to yet another video. So let's break down the top 3 things that you should stack and why they are important. Now, this will be primarily tailored to everyone like myself who live in the US. So if you live in Canada, the UK, or somewhere else, the same methods can still apply, but they're going to vary just slightly. And obviously this is going to be focused for people in the US, but again, I do believe you can still mimic a lot of the elements that I'm going to talk about in today's video. So let's start with the first one, and that is the American Silver Eagles, or just your standard government issued bullion. Now, like I said, depending on where you live, you are more likely than not going to have some sort of government issued bullion that is considered the quote coin of the realm, if you will. And like I said a second ago, depending on where you live, you can apply this to whichever coin that's associated with your region. Here in the US, we have our American Silver Eagles. In Canada, you guys got the Maples, and in the UK, you have the Britannias, and so forth and so forth. These are going to be, in my opinion, one area in your stack that you should invest towards due to a few reasons. And one reason is that it's going to be the most recognized, highly liquid, and always having a strong appeal for collecting. Since these are highly sought after, they are generally ranked number 1 when it comes to having any form of silver. Now, they do have some downsides to them, and people have strong opinions on it, so they might not rank it as number 1, but for the most part, these type of coins are going to be the top of the list when it comes to buying, selling, whatever it is that you do, or stacking. Now, they do, like I said, they do have some downsides to them, and I'll go over that here in a second, but typically, any government-issued coin that you're associated with will be the safest and easiest type of silver to acquire. And of course, since they are considered the best of the best, you'll have to pay for that feature. And premiums are going to be the biggest downside when it comes to stacking these, because they can be very extreme. Depending on where you get them, I know SD Bullion has it at around $7 over spot at today's video. But when I got started back in 2021, they were essentially double the price, and the premium alone was the spot price of silver at that time. And despite having to overpay, I do want to note that it is important for you to have something like this in your stack. And if you're big on diversification of assets, you're definitely going to want these in your stack due to their strong ability of resale and liquidity. You can almost always sell these without any type of issue, and that could be a strong exit strategy that you may need to consider. Having government issued coins like these are going to allow a smoother and easier exit strategy if you choose to exercise that option in the future. So let's move on to the second type of silver that you should have, and this should make up the majority of your stack if you're really focused on weight, and that is the generic rounds. For this example, I'm just going to show you some of the Buffalo rounds, as they are aligned from my first point about being the most recognized type of round in the US, but aside from that, for the most part, all generic rounds and bars are going to be of the same type of status, if you will. And I'll explain why that is in a bit and why they actually do differ in some areas. So the benefits of having these type of silver is that they carry the lowest amount of premiums compared to the government coins like I showed you before. Now, depending on the weight and the design, they can have varying premiums associated to them, but typically the higher in weight that you go, the cheaper the premium. And they have tons of design features you can pick from, and it's just a really easy way to start stacking. And speaking of designs, I'll give you an example of something that is considered a generic round that can actually confuse you. So this round is from the Germania Mint. It's one of my favorite ones, and by all technicality, it is a round just like the Buffaloes. But the difference is this one's going to carry a little more of a premium because of its design. So private mints, which is why we consider these generic silvers, they have a reputation at stake. And generally, just like any other business, the designs and quality are going to be important for a lot of them to focus on. And that can carry some premium sometime, which is why the generic Buffalo round is cheaper than that Germania round. Even though they're both technically by default the same category, one's going to cost more because of its design features. Now, within this category, I do find that sometimes generic rounds are also going to teeter along the fence of some form of artwork or type of collectible, not necessarily numismatic, but again, to the point of the design and effort that they put into these sometimes, you're going to have to kind of view this with an angle of appreciation and admiration towards artwork. Now, you shouldn't try to stack these type of rounds because the premiums are going to be so expensive and you're just not going to get your weight's worth because, again, generic silver, its target intention is to stack weight. So it's okay to buy a few of these here and there if you really like it, but beyond that, I wouldn't stack these type of rounds, the artwork rounds, for your stack. They're just more of an appreciation. So key takeaways, because silver can be expensive at times, especially when the price goes up like it is right now, you're going to want to stretch your dollar as much as possible by stacking weight, not necessarily going after prestige. So generic silver helps accomplish that, and it's all about weight in ounces that you own versus any form of profits. The downside to this is when you go to resell, typically you're just going to get at spot for these type of coins, regardless if it's a generic Buffalo round or one of the artistic ones like the Germania one. You're probably only going to get at spot at best, so that's why the premiums can really be an important factor to consider. Now, unlike the American Silver Eagles, I forgot to mention this point that with those, you can actually get a few dollars over spot when it comes to reselling. So depending on how much you have, you could actually get more money reselling government-issued coins than generic rounds. And that's the one downside to them, but again, they each all serve a purpose and a strategy. Generic rounds, their strategies are primarily focused on weight and the entry/affordability purposes. And finally, the 90%, the constitutional or junk silver, depending on what you want to call it. These are while they should look familiar to you, these quarters and dimes are not the same as they are today, obviously because they have silver in them. These are going to be your fractional types. These are pretty much designed for barter situations, and right now, these are actually the best and cheapest option of form of silver you can get right now. They're actually cheaper than the generic Buffalo rounds that I mentioned, or any generic silver for that matter. So some places are even selling them below spot, which doesn't happen that often. So if you're looking to get started today, these are going to be the best things to get started with, in my opinion, especially if you want to get something cheap. The downside to these are going to be your visual appeal. They definitely have some wear on them, but not all of them do, but a lot of them do. And they tend to be a little bit harder to calculate since they do consist of 90% silver. You're going to have to pretty much, if you can remember, $1.40 worth of quarters and dimes, like if you were to add them together in real life, to get roughly 1 ounce of silver. So doing the math can be a little bit challenging for some, not to mention stacking these are not really feasible since they are smaller sized objects than compared to the bar or the round. Despite all that, they do serve a purpose, but it's not something that you'll want to desire for. But in a barter or an SHTF scenario, these are going to be more likely than not the option to spend with because of their fractional power. While you can barter with a generic round or an American Silver Eagle, I wouldn't recommend it, but you may overpay with those. So only giving up 2 quarters can save your stack's value. Think of it this way. It's like buying something with a $100 bill that's only worth $20 and you don't get your change back. That's how you should look at it. So which one wins? Well, the Eagles and the government coins will win in the liquidity area. The generic rounds will win in the affordability and premium area, while the 90% will win with their fractional/barter ability. And it's not about which one is the best overall. They all serve a unique purpose. It's really what's best for your stacking goals. If you're focused on premiums, you'll think that the generic rounds are going to be the best. If you want recognizability, the government coins are going to be the best, and you're going to angle your position or argument in that area because of that. So, in my opinion, all three are going to serve a purpose, and they're very important. Diversify it out if you want to. Just depends on what you're aiming to accomplish. But that being said, let me know which one you are stacking right now and what's your preferred type of silver. Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye-bye, guys.